Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat, Gift of the Gem Dragon.
I got you this gift, Bob. It's a
Hey,
gem dragon. Well, actually, it's from the gem dragon. This is actually regifting.
you
This
are
is
the Gem
from.
Dragon.
I'm the gem dragon was the friends made along the way. This is from Fizban's Trajectory of Dragons, which is my favorite book they've released in a while. You manifest some of the power of gem dragons, granting you the following benefits. You get an ASI, so you increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score, ASI being ability score improvement. You increase your intelligence, wis, or charisma by 1 to a max of 20. So, like I always say, if you care about any of those, and you're going from an odd score to an even score, that means your modifier is going to go up by 1. And if that's what you're getting, this is good enough. This is as good as an ability score improvement almost ubiquitously, and you are happy to take it for that reason alone. But there are other options that compete with that, right? You got the other feats that give you that ASI, so there probably should be more here. Telekinetic Reprisal is the other thing this gives you. When you take damage from a creature that is within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to emanate telekinetic energy. The creature that dealt damage to you must make a strength saving throw. DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus the ability modifier of the score increased by this feat. So if you increase int, it's an int save. I'm sorry, it's not an int save. It adds your int to the saving throw.
Yeah.
On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 force damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. On a success, the creature takes half as much damage and is not pushed. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You get all whenever you finish a long rest. This is a reaction to make a save that pushes things and deals damage on a failed save that happens whenever you're hit, which is sweet. Whenever you're damaged by, I think,
Whenever you're damaged.
Your thought on reflexive damage force shove?
I've been looking into many different kind of shoves lately, and I'm just been taking interest in the whole concept. I like this one.
This one's
It
really good.
I like that it uses a reaction. It's something that's underutilized, I think. So, using your reaction, that's doing something on somebody else's turn, leaving you your own action and bonus action. I was thinking about pairing this up with telekinetic. So they hit you. Hopefully, you've positioned yourself so that you are on one side of them, and somebody's wall of fire or some such spell is on the other side, or even
Your wall of fire.
better, like an area of effect spell. So you shove them into the area of effect, and then on your turn, with your bonus action, you shove them further in.
Yeah, that's cute. Gets them moving through spaces. Gets extra damage proccing from damage of effect spells like there's the Ranger Druid spell that makes a bunch of difficult terrain that does 2d4 damage when things get moved through it. Yeah, Spike Growth is pretty good with that, right? This also just outside of the shove specifically, as characters that like taking damage, oftentimes their only reaction is going to be attacks of opportunity, because normally those are the fighters, barbarians, paladins, monks of the world, right? Having an option that just goes, oh, you punched me, damage, is great. Like 2d8 damage, not on your turn, for free, it's a feat, is pretty excellent. Now, the issue I find with that is you have to care about your int, wizard, charisma. So this kind of wants to be on a backline character. So I think your telekinetic case actually might be a little bit more of a solid option, because you care about the ability score increase, you care about the shoving specifically, and you also like getting 2d8 free damage. That's all pretty excellent. I think that's probably where this is going to shine brightest. But I think if you're a blade singer, I think if you're a character that is making attack rolls, or just generally speaking in combat with things, taking damage itself, as long as you care about the ability score and you are engaged with things, this is going to be good on your character sheet, I'm pretty sure. Is it going to be better than a lot of the build-around feats? Probably not, because those tend to be really central to doing just crazy amounts of damage or having ridiculous lockdown or any number of powerful things the martial arts stuff can do. Still, it's, I think, a perfectly reasonable option to take if it sounds exciting to you, or if you have other people in your group that you know regularly using things like Flaming Sphere, or regularly using things like Wall of Fire or Spike Growth, then this gets quite a bit better, and it's something to think about.
Isn't there another feat? Was it Crusher that allows you to push more?
Yes, Crusher lets you knock things back when you hit with bludgeoning weapons.
So there you go.
If you want to just be like knockback central, Crusher plus Gift of the Gem Dragon, just be like, everyone get off of me. Call it personal space is the build. And your whole objective is just have nothing is allowed to stay within 5 feet of you.
Yeah, plus telekinetic.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm saying that utilizes your reaction, your action, and your bonus action.
All to push.
Yeah.
Which is...
That's Kind of stupid, but maybe
It's a little
effective.
stupid. There might be something there, especially again, if you're building this as part of a party, if you're building this as part of someone is planning to take spike growth, someone is planning to take wall of fire, someone is planning to take all of these specific damaging areas, someone's getting the gust of wind, and your team objective is to create a meat grinder. That character with a gift of the gem dragon and the telekinetic and all the other little bits and bobs that go into it could be really fun in that specific setting. Now, should you take the shover to a generic table? Say probably not, unless you have a really readily way to turn this on yourself. If you're not doing specifically the shover build, Gift of the Gem Dragon still could have a home on your sheet, just because, like you said, reactions are not common. This is 2d8 damage a decent chunk of times. Whenever you're picking this up, you'll probably be in the mid tiers. This is something I don't think you're taking as your first feat, but maybe your second or third. And in that instance, it's going to be with getting 4 or 5 uses per long rest, which is a ton. It means in big set piece encounters that are once per long rest, you're just going to fire off this round after round for a free 8d8, 10d8 damage. That's a ton. For just a feat that you just take along the way, that's really great. I think this is something you can get a ton of mileage out of. On, again, specifically characters that are int, whiz, or charisma focused. So I think like melee druids care about this a lot. And maybe some clerics too, right? Frontline melee clerics care about this a lot too. You put that on those characters that tend to get damaged and want to use the ability score proactively and effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still thinking about pushing things around.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that's what this feat does. It well, and the damage. I forget that the damage exists. That should be the meat of it, but
And for what it's worth, like the shove is conditional. It doesn't always get shoved, but it does always
yeah,
take at
that's
least
true.
half damage. So that's
Yeah.
always something you can rely on. That save is going to be consistently doing at least a d8 damage, and nothing is a lot better, or something's a lot better than nothing. So this having a case where even if they pass, you get something out of it does make it quite a bit higher in my book as far as like usability goes. There'll be some things that come to hit you with like 5 hit points, you just kill them on the spot. And that's, that's cute.
Yeah, I guess if you've got enough uses, it's not like infinite uses, but kind of close. I mean, depending on how many fights you have between, was it long rest?
Yeah, it's long rests.
Long rest. Yeah, you could use that on something small. I'm thinking
Now,
about what?
oh, just to that point, it does get a lot worse if you're taking 3 or 4 fights per long rest. Getting 1 or 2 uses of this is like then the trade-off becomes a lot more stark to something like Great Weapon Master, to something like a lot of the build around me feats that give you a consistent tool that you can use over and over again, especially like with options that being long duration. So things that give you long duration spells, for example, those can give you consistency over long periods of fights. This being a once per fight a feature is still fine, but it is quite a bit worse. So I would make sure whenever you're taking this, you understand how many fights you're typically going to see per long rest. Most tables tend to be 1 or 2. And if you're at those kinds of tables, this is probably at its best. If you're doing 5, 6 encounters, if you're doing a little bit more of a grueling game, maybe you consider a different option than this.
Yeah, especially. I've been talking this whole time about lumping all these push effects together, but if that's the sort of thing you want to do, and you are in a grueling campaign doing a bunch of fights, yeah, maybe consider one of those options instead of this one.
Yeah, I mean, even in those campaigns, like maybe down the road, as long as you can get that 3rd feat, this is going to be okay, I have at least 5 uses of this. I have 6 uses of this in the absolute top tier, right? And that's a good chunk, even if you're only getting 2 out per encounter.
All right, well, we got anything else to say about this?
It's surprisingly simple. It's got a lot of words, and the DC calculation is annoying. I desperately want them to find a codified way to say it makes a saving throw, and whenever you're asked what your saving throws are, it's just like a nice little bundle number. But alas, that's not to be. So
you only have to figure it out once.
Yeah, but like I get annoyed whenever I have this save DC uses my int, this save DC uses my dex, this save DC uses my, and I just get annoyed by that.
Yeah.
That's definitely nitpicking. This is probably a 3. I don't think it's revolutionary. I don't think it's something that's breaking the table in half, but I do think it's a fun new option to explore. I think that opening up opportunities for the shove build and making the opportunity of empowering specifically area effect spells as a reaction, especially as a reaction, can be really good. Now, granted, there's the small window where if they move through it, oftentimes it's the first time a creature goes through a space on its turn, this doesn't proc it again. So there are a little bit of hiccups with when this will happen.
I did not catch that at all. What?
So there'll be a little bit of hiccups if you're doing the damaging area effects. A lot of damaging area effects say the first time a creature enters this space on its turn. this pushing them back into the area doesn't trigger it again. So that's just something to consider whenever you're working on these kinds of builds. Still, agnostic of the little niche applications and shover effects and stuff that you might be going for, this is a perfectly reasonable option to take, especially giving any reaction that does damage. It's just excellent universally. The floor is very high on this. The ceiling's also quite low. Like, you're never going to be able to abuse this and break it in half all that readily without a ton of work. But it's like as a general character, if you're a paladin, if you're a cleric, if you're a druid, I think this is entirely reasonable feat to consider.
I was thinking specifically with spike growth, though, because no matter whether you move forcibly or not, you're taking damage.
Any number of times per turn, too.
Right. And it's difficult terrain, so the deeper you get pushed into it, the harder it is to get out of it.
Yeah. This one, spike growth, like, it procs 2 of the zones, and then they have to come back out of it, and then you can just push them back into it, and they come back out of it, and that's a cute little way to weaponize that damage a bit more.
Yeah. Or you could, if you've got all that stuff I was talking about lumped together, you can use your telekinetic to pull them toward you, and then your crusher to knock them back again.
Yeah, maybe this is the build where you're playing a druid, possibly druid barbarian hybrid. It's hard to do, but it's hard to be the one doing the crusher. I guess you don't need to be raging. You can just use your quarterstaff to bludgeon people back with, right? So you're probably a druid, some kind of melee range druid. Maybe you're doing... There's probably a wild shape that gets multi-attack with bludgeoning, right? Probably. If there is one, then you can do the Moon Druid where you push them back in with the bludgeoning damage from Crusher. You've got your spike growth up, so you're providing that yourself. That build probably comes together to look somewhat interesting. I don't know if it's going to be that consistent or good, but it's interesting. I'm a big fan of interesting builds. I'm not here to say that you shouldn't play fun, wacky, weird things. You should. I would advocate for them more than the optimized stuff. I like talking about, like, is this going to be good in the grand scope of power? But it doesn't need to be busted. It can just be fun. And if it's somewhat effective and you find cool ways to make these somewhat effective builds flourish, excellent. That's D&D at its finest.
All right. I've agreed with you too much lately. I'm going to give this a 4, just so I won't agree with you again.
Fair enough.
It feels like a 3, but I don't know. I've been in a shovey kind of mood lately, so 4 it is. All right, that was Gift of the Gem Dragon. Thank you, Jim Dragon. Thank you, Sam, for that.
I'm the Gem Dragon.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you, for watching, and let us know what you think down in the comments below. Until next time, bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.